Hey there, I'm Chris Hassel, host of CBS Sports HQ's third NBA mock of 2021. The lottery coming up just over a week away, and that's when we'll find out the order. But for our purposes here, we're going to go by overall record. The Rockets then getting the first pick. They have a 14% chance to get that top pick, along with the Pistons and the Magic. Top 5 prospects in the draft, really not separated by much themselves, but there appears to be a pretty big gap from 5 to 6. So the top 5 going to be in some kind of order, we would think. And then once we hit that 6th spot, which is right now occupied for our purposes by the Golden State Warriors, then things open up a little bit. Let's bring in our mock GMs, NBA champion Avery Johnson and college basketball columnist Gary Parrish. And Avery, you've got the rights to the first overall pick as the mock GM of the Houston Rockets.
With the first overall pick in the 2021 NBA draft, the Houston Rockets select Cade Cunningham out of Oklahoma State University. Cade Cunningham got the size, the speed, the ball handling ability. He finishes well in the paint. He's got the three-point shooting range out to the NBA three-point line. This kid will do wonders for the Houston Rockets, who've lost James Harden, Russell Westbrook, and Chris Paul all within the last 4 years. He's going to do a lot to re-energize this Houston Rockets franchise. Total rebuild, and they need some star power. Cade Cunningham could bring that to the Houston Rockets if they get that number 1 overall pick. They're going to be holding their collective breaths there in Houston, because there's a close to a 50% chance they would get the 5th pick and potentially lose out on a lottery pick because of that Russell Westbrook trade. Let's move on to number 2 and the Detroit Pistons. Gary?
With the second pick in the 2021 NBA draft, the Detroit Pistons select Jalen Suggs out of Gonzaga University. You know, the Pistons should be thinking best prospect available this high in the draft. And in my opinion, that guy is Jalen Suggs. Obviously, he helped the Zags start the season 31-0 and play in the national title game. Famously hit the half-court buzzer beater to send the Zags to the title game. But in that game, I think there was another sequence that actually showed why he is such an elite prospect. He blocks a shot at the rim from a 6'7" player, and then immediately in transition gets a bounce pass to Drew Timme for an easy bucket that just showed a little bit of everything that Jalen Suggs can do. I talked to Mark Few, the Gonzaga coach, about him just a couple of weeks ago, and he said when he talks to NBA personnel, he tells them that this is a top-shelf athlete, top-shelf competitor, total team player, and somebody who just has that it factor. If he can get his jump shot to be a little more reliable from the perimeter, and there's really no reason to think that he can't, we're talking about a super athletic guard who could be an all-star very quickly.
Gary going with Jalen Suggs there to the Pistons in Kyle Boone's latest mock draft on CBSSports.com. He has Evan Mobley going there at number 2. So that could be a situation where these 5 guys, I mean, they could move maybe a spot or 2 within that top 5 and then not really a drop off until 6. So let's get to 3. Avery, the Orlando Magic, who are looking for a new head coach.
Yeah, the Orlando Magic with the 3rd pick in the 2021 NBA draft select Evan Mobley out of USC. This young man, 7 feet tall, long, athletic, rangy. The Orlando Magic basically had a fire sale last year at the NBA trade deadline. So this is definitely a rebuilding situation. You know, he averaged 16 points, 8 rebounds a game. He's got a much improved outside game. I think he needs to add a little bit of weight to be able to function on a night in and night out basis on the NBA level. But again, this is a total rebuild. You look at Cole Anthony at point guard, they're solid there, but they need bodies. Orlando needs some guys that can come in and play right away, and I believe Mobley's one of those players.
Okay, so 3 college players going 1, 2, 3. That would leave a couple of G League players likely to fill out our top 5 here. Gary, you've got the Cavaliers at number 4.
With the 4th pick in the 2021 NBA draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers select Jalen Green from the G League Ignite. College basketball fans are going to be less familiar with Jalen Green than they are the first three players selected in this mock because he did not play college basketball. But declining that opportunity to instead train and develop with the G League Ignite program did nothing to damage his NBA stock. He is an incredible scoring guard with great size for his position, who is explosive and can also knock down shots reliably from the perimeter. There are some, people in the scouting business that I respect who think Jalen Green is a better prospect at this point in his life than Anthony Edwards was coming out of Georgia after 1 year. And obviously Anthony Edwards had a terrific rookie season with the Minnesota Timberwolves. So if there is a chance Jalen Green can exceed Anthony Edwards, then you are getting real value with the fourth pick in this draft.
All right, let's round out the top five. Oklahoma City Thunder at number 5. Avery with the pick.
Oklahoma City Thunder, with the 5th pick in the 2021 draft, selects Jonathan Kuminga, G League Ignite from the Congo. This is another kid that was a 5-star kid out of high school, 6'6". He averaged 15 points a game. He's a kid that needs to improve his three-point shooting. He only shot 24% from behind the three-point line. But, talking to Brian Shaw, his coach, he has a huge upside. You can move him around. He has lots of versatility. His athleticism is off the chart. So when you look at this guy, this is another situation, especially with a young point guard like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, that you paired him up in that pick and roll situation. They could be a 1-2 punch that the NBA has to reckon with, especially in the Western Conference.
All right, so a top 5 of Cunningham, Suggs, Mobley, Green, and Kuminga. That's likely what we're going to get, and then things open up at 6. Again, for our purposes, since we don't have the lottery yet, we don't know how the balls are going to fall, we're just going with record, and so that means the Golden State Warriors via Minnesota have this number 6 overall pick, Gary. It's a pick that they're probably going to look to package in some way, but no trades in this mock. So who would the Warriors take here?
With the 6th pick in the 2021 NBA draft, the Golden State Warriors select Scotty Barnes, Florida State University. Chris, you're exactly right. There's a lot of thought within the league that the Warriors are going to try to package this pick with something to try to get somebody better suited to help take advantage of this Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson window that will close probably sooner rather than later. Will another rookie help them as much as a veteran presence would? Probably not. So if Golden State can package this, they probably will. But for our purposes, like you pointed out, we're going to let them execute the pick, and Scotty Barnes would make some sense. He's a combo forward who is incredibly skilled, plays with a lot of energy. He averaged 4.1 assists per game, which suggests that he is a good passer, and he is someone who even played some point guard for Leonard Hamilton down in Tallahassee. Now, to be clear, he is not going to be a point guard in the NBA, but simply that he was able to play that position and initiate offense at the collegiate level in the ACC, again, highlights what kind of skill set we're talking about here. And with Scotty Barnes, you're talking about somebody who has an incredibly high floor, but also a high ceiling.
First of 2 lottery picks for the Warriors. They'll also have number 14 coming up. As we move on to number 7, Avery, the Toronto Raptors, who are likely going to be moving on from Kyle Lowry, who heads into free agency.
Yes, with the 7th pick in the 2021 NBA draft, the Toronto Raptors select James Bouknight out of Connecticut. This is a situation, I'm with you, Chris. You just don't know what's going to happen with Kyle Lowry. Bouknight is more of a combo guard. He can play on the ball, off the ball. I think he's going to be able to have a lot of success from behind the NBA three-point line. I think he's an underrated athlete. He averaged 18 points a game last year. He's played in a lineage of a lot of great guards, as you're showing here on the graphic. And I think, he's the type of guy, had he stayed in college for another year or two, could very well be in the conversation for National Player of the Year in the next year or two. But he decided to come out early, but I think he would make the transition well, especially either learning from Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet, or if they move on from Lowry, he should be a guy that can step right in and be ready to play.
All right, that's number 7. On to number 8 overall, and Gary is picking for the Pelicans, who are still looking to build around Zion and likely needing some more shooting help.
With the 8th pick in the 2021 NBA Draft, the New Orleans Pelicans select Moses Moody, the University of Arkansas. Chris, you're exactly right. The most important thing New Orleans can do, besides the obvious, which is just add high-end talent, is add shooting to create more space for Zion Williamson to do what Zion Williamson does. They don't have enough of it right now. Moses Moody could move them in the right direction. He's a 6'6" wing with a high-level wingspan who shot 36% from 3 in his one season at Arkansas. And he shot 36% from 3 while taking a lot of bad shots and contested shots. So, if you get better shot selection, you should get a better percentage. But the percentage already for a one-and-done player was really, really impressive. Simply put, this is just a terrific 3-and-D prospect who would work well basically anywhere, but especially in New Orleans, given what New Orleans needs to add to its roster right now.
All right, up at number 9, we have the Sacramento Kings, and they were one of the worst defensive teams in the league last season. Avery making this selection for the Kings.
With the 9th pick in the 2021 NBA Draft, the Sacramento Kings select Davion Mitchell from Baylor University. This is a team that significantly needs to improve their defense. You're talking about a guy that was arguably the best wing defender in all of college basketball. Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. National champion, Naismith Defensive Player of the Year. This kid was a transfer from Auburn University. I coached against him when he was at Auburn. He would not even look at the basket when he was at Auburn, and now he's developed into a reliable three-point shooter. He has the body, the physicality. NBA teams love to play 2 guards or point guards together. He would pair well now with De'Aaron Fox. So this would be a steal. This would be a steal of a draft pick if the Sacramento Kings are able to draft Davion Mitchell.
Yeah, if he falls there to 9, that would be something. A lot of mock drafts seeing him around 6, 7, 8, somewhere in that range. Let's finish out the top 10 here with the Orlando Magic. They took Evan Mobley, number 3 overall. Gary, who do you have him taking at number 10, this pick from Chicago? Those two teams making some trades before the trade deadline this past season.
With the 10th pick in the 2021 NBA Draft, the Orlando Magic select Keon Johnson from the University of Tennessee. Chris, I make a habit shortly after incoming freshmen get on campus to reach out to staff members at some of the schools that have some of the best prospects just to check in and see how they're looking, because by the time prospects get on campus, it has been a little bit of time since I've seen them in person with my own eyes. And when I reached out to the Tennessee staff in advance of last season, the first response I got was, when are you doing a 2021 NBA mock draft? And when I answered that question, I was told to make sure Keon Johnson is in the top 10. So here we are, because he really didn't do anything in his one season in Knoxville to move anybody off of that. We're talking about a 6'5", explosive athlete who can really finish around the rim, already catch lobs, and is a terrific on-ball defender. When you find a young guy who is an athlete and is already purposely defending, that's a big, big positive quality, and that's what you get with Keon Johnson. He needs to improve as a passer, improve as a shooter, but there's some natural stuff there that is super valuable. And when you're talking about a one-and-done prospect who can already guard at this level, again, you're fortunate if you can get him with the 10th pick in a draft.
All right, so Gary pairing Keon Johnson with Evan Mobley, the 2 top 10 picks for the Orlando Magic. At number 11, Avery, you've got the Hornets.
Yeah, with the 11th pick, the Charlotte Hornets select Corey Kispert from Gonzaga University. When you talk about LaMelo Ball and the fit with this team, Kispert is, I would say, close to being a perfect fit. He shoots 44% from behind the three-point line. you never really think that he's going to miss. I mean, he's got just a beautiful stroke. I mean, he shoots 87% from the free throw line, 52% from the field. He's a senior, so now you're adding somebody with experience. Obviously, they lost in the national championship game, but Gonzaga's made a lot of deep runs with him on their roster, and he just really goes well. You can use him in the starting lineup. He can come off the bench. I think he'll be an even better version than Cam Johnson, who's now playing for the Phoenix Suns, who played at North Carolina. I think this will be a little bit better version, maybe not as athletic, but a guy that can come off the bench and fill it up. And even though we love defense, the NBA is proven right now, you have to have guys that can stretch the floor, like a Seth Curry in Philadelphia doing, Danny Green in Philadelphia. This guy, Kispert, is going to do the same thing for the Hornets.
Into the range now, 11 through 14 of teams just missing the playoffs in that play-in tournament. From the Hornets to the Spurs at number 12, Gary has that pick.
With the 12th pick in the 2021 NBA draft, the San Antonio Spurs select Isaiah Jackson out of the University of Kentucky. Obviously, the Spurs negotiated a buyout with LaMarcus Aldridge midseason in advance of LaMarcus Aldridge retiring after a short stint in Brooklyn. And among the things that did is leave really no talent to speak of in the San Antonio front court. I'm talking older talent, young talent. It's just not there. And so Isaiah Jackson could help resolve that to some degree. He's a 6'10" athlete, 7-foot wingspan, incredible rim protector, really explosive, and wasn't consistently great at Kentucky, which is among the reasons Kentucky had a historically bad season. But he showed enough in spurts to make him an undeniable, intriguing prospect. Like a lot of one-and-dones, especially one-and-done bigs, the skill doesn't match the athleticism and the rim protecting at this point. But if you can develop that, the other stuff is already there. And again, this would just be a way for San Antonio to add some size, some talent, and some athleticism to that front court.
All right, Isaiah Jackson for Greg Popovich and company. There are several teams that are looking for new head coaches. The Indiana Pacers, one of those teams, making a move to get rid of Nate Bjorkgren after just one season. Avery, you're making the pick for the Pacers at 13.
With the 13th pick in the 2021 NBA draft, the Indiana Pacers select Jared Butler out of Baylor University. This pick would mean an awful lot to me because I recruited Jared going back to when he was a freshman, sophomore in high school in Reserve, Louisiana. We had him on campus for 2 months at Alabama before he transferred to Baylor. This kid, he can do it all. He has unlimited NBA three-point range. He's a good kid. He's high basketball IQ. And if you're a new coach with the Pacers and you need to jumpstart your franchise with an NCAA champion, most outstanding player in the Final Four last year, this would be a good place to start. And one more note, Chris and Gary, this would be the second consecutive year that one of my guards that I recruited would be picked with the 13th pick. Last year, it was Kyra Lewis with the New Orleans Pelicans.
Lucky number 13 for Avery Johnson, who knows how to spot some talent, that's for sure. That's why we expect to lose him probably at some point back to the head coaching ranks somewhere. But fingers crossed you stay with us, Avery. We got one more pick in the lottery here. It's the Golden State Warriors once again. Gary, no trades here. You mentioned that. So back at number 6, the Warriors via Minnesota took Scotty Barnes. You got the pick at 14.
With the 14th pick in the 2021 NBA draft, the Golden State Warriors select Alperen Şengün from Turkey. This is a really interesting prospect who just had an incredibly productive, like historically productive season in Turkey. And he's been a professional, since 2018. So he's been playing high-level basketball for quite some time now. And again, has evolved into what I believe is a lottery prospect. He's a traditional center in the sense that he has traditional center moves and is more comfortable around the basket than he is on the perimeter, but he has shown the ability to step away from the basket and knock down three-point shots. He can do that. Can he improve? Sure, but he can already make that jumper consistently. So he's really good around the rim. He's capable away from the rim. The only real question is on the defensive end of the court. Is he going to be able to guard in space? Are you going to have to use drop coverages when he's on the court? Is he going to get played off the court? We will see. But with or without James Wiseman in Golden State's future, and that at this point is up in the air, it seems, they need to add depth to the front court, and go in this direction with an international prospect is one obvious way to do it.
All right, and just after a year where an international player won the MVP award, and Nikola Jokic, who was number 41 overall back in 2014. This is the recap of our lottery selections in HQ's latest mock draft. Cade Cunningham, number 1 to the Houston Rockets. Houston, Detroit, Orlando have the best chances of getting that number 1 pick. They all have 14% chances of getting that number 1 overall pick. You really just want to be in that top 5. That's where the cream of the crop is, and then a drop-off down to 6. Let's move on to 15 through 21. At 15, the Wizards taking Franz Wagner. And you have the Knicks making a couple of picks here. Sharif Cooper out of Auburn and Jalen Johnson out of Duke. Avery, you made those picks. Arrow pointing straight up at Madison Square Garden. Knicks and their fans very excited about the future. Why those 2 kids?
Well, when you look at the Knicks, you obviously Julius Randle had an incredible year. He was voted most improved player. Tom Thibodeau beat out Monty Williams, who was my coach of the year. But give Coach Thibodeau credit. I had him right there in the top 2. But when you look at the Knicks, a big question mark is Derrick Rose, who's an older player now, former NBA MVP. But that's why I'm plugging in Sharif Cooper here, because I don't know how much Derrick Rose can contribute moving forward. So they got to get younger at the point guard position. Obviously, they still have some depth coming off the bench, but I think the biggest question mark is Derrick Rose moving forward. And then you can always use, with a kid like Jalen Johnson, you can always use an athletic, guy that has size, that can drive, that can pass, dribble, and shoot. Kid that's an unbelievable athlete. When Julius Randle needs to play inside, he can make some shots from the outside. They drafted Obi Toppin last year, so becoming even more and more athletic and getting faster. The Knicks' pace of play was a little slow last year, so they got to find a way to generate some more easy buckets. And these 2 young prospects with Cooper and Johnson will allow them, with the rest of their players, to play a little bit faster and pick up the tempo. All
right, let's round out the first round here, and the Lakers picking at 22. Chris Duarte out of Oregon. We'll talk about that in just a second. You also have an interesting prospect, Charles Bassey, who many thought might have been a one-and-done at Western Kentucky, but had some injury issues. Stuck it out for 3 years, came back from injury, played extremely well last season, going to the Suns at number 29 overall, and the Jazz taking Jaden Springer out of Tennessee. Let's get a couple of these from Gary Parrish. First, Gary, tell us about Chris Duarte and the Lakers.
Well, he's a former National Junior College Player of the Year who then played 2 seasons at Oregon and was terrific. He was not the Pac-12 Player of the Year because Evan Mobley was, but you could certainly have made a case for Chris Duarte, who helped the Ducks win an outright Pac-12 title. Some franchises are concerned that he's older than most prospects, at which point you don't want to spend, say, a lottery pick or a top 20 pick on him. But that should be of no concern to the Lakers, because you're not trying to win 4 years from now. You're trying to win next season with the core of LeBron James and Anthony Davis. LeBron is already 36 years old, just like the rest of us. Every year he's getting older. You need somebody who can help now, and you need somebody who can provide shooting. And Chris Duarte can do both of those things. He's a plug-and-play backcourt member and somebody who shot above 42% from three-point range. So he adds shooting, he adds talent, he's ready to go from day one, and that is exactly what the Lakers should be looking for.
Turns 24 this month, does Duarte. At number 30, though, you have the Jazz taking a player who won't turn 19 until September. That would be Jaden Springer. But Gary, why does he drop so far in this mock? Because he's the number 11th ranked prospect right now.
You know, Chris, when I talk to people who work in front offices throughout the league over the past few weeks, I've just gotten a wide range of opinions on Jaden Springer. Some like him in the lottery. Others question whether, he should be a first-round pick at all. Obviously, with time, somebody's going to be right and somebody's going to be wrong, but he is one of the more divisive prospects. And one of the issues facing him is that, he is very young. And with some franchises, that's going to be a positive. But once you get outside of the lottery, most of the franchises picking are playoff teams, teams that are trying to be good next season, at which point your age could work against you because, is a 19-year-old going to help you as much as a 21-year-old or a 22-year-old, or in Chris Duarte's case, a 23 or a 24-year-old. And so when you combine that with the fact that he is a guard who barely shoots threes. He only shot 1.8 threes per game, and he played 26 minutes per game. And his two-point jumper field goal percentage was only 34%. So this is a guy who, scored some points down the stretch for Tennessee and was a very productive college player, in the back half of his one season in Knoxville. But, he's a guard who doesn't shoot right now, and that can be concerning with the way the game is played at the NBA level currently.
All right, Gary Parrish, Avery Johnson, thank you so much for your time. Our mock GMs here in our third mock draft of unquestionably a few more before the draft, which is still more than 6 weeks away. Still going on overall records for our lottery here because the NBA draft lottery is still more than a week away. We got the Rockets taking Cade Cunningham #1, followed by Jalen Suggs to the Pistons, Evan Mobley to the Magic, and those two G Leaguers going back-to-back at 4 and 5. Jalen Green to the Cavs, Jonathan Kuminga to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.